So that way I just like went all in into the robotics team. Didn't think twice about why I'm doing this. Do I really love robotics? All that was like a secondary thing. It was just about, okay, I'm getting to build something cool and let me just keep, going. And give my
Hmm.
everything, because then I met like an amazing bunch of people, some of whom I'm still like are like a very active part of life today. I got like a real life example of why you have to surround yourself with people smarter than
Great
you.
detail. So true.
Like
So
very
true.
early on. Back then, the Team Indus, which is probably India's first private space company, they were building this moon rover, part of this Google Lunar Express, and uh, the fact that someone is spending $70 million on just building a rover was insane to me, because I was on that industry for like, I was doing this something similar, and I could relate to the problems. I was like, oh, this is why they need this much money. And so it was like the first taste of, I've done something similar, and for me to take that to actually Moon or Mars, it's going to take this much money. So there's a huge gap for how I perceive the world, and I need to understand that. So there was some thesis like this that me and my co-founder kind of like arrived at, that we want high ticket size projects. We want to focus on one use case, because that also became clear that the robotics companies focusing on one use case are the ones that are big today. Uh,
Hmm.
the moment you try to diversify, you become a solution provider. Still, till today, I still tell, like, it's not that I'm passionate about order picking, but just felt like you can build an ecosystem around order. That's what they told us in retrospect. It was about the team and the market size. When you control this whole solution, like when you provide a solution to the customer, is when the robotics company extracts more value than providing the robot.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this was the key learning there. I think one of the hardest things of being a founder has been dealing with my own mental clarity. So that has been very, very clear, very, very critical. Because there's a lot of middle classness that kicks it, right? And I think that is like one of the biggest deterrent to a first time entrepreneur. Like when suddenly you have crores of rupees to spend, but you've been only looking at it from maybe thousands. Or for innovation to happen, you need a little bit of abundance mindset. Like you can't keep fighting for survival.
Right.
You can't keep thinking that you're not good enough. You can't keep thinking that how do I, in 2 months, where is money going to come from? You need to somewhere develop like a deeper level of trust that you will solve every problem and figure it out on the fly. And like staying calm, learning how to stay calm through uh, multiple things has been like probably the most important learning.
Hi, Pranav. Thank you so much for doing this. I just hope that the robotics ecosystem get a lot of value from your journey and the way you have built your robotics company and the robots uh, around it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Supriya. Thank you for having me, and hopefully I can share some useful insights over the recording. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So let's start from the very beginning because I think
Mhm.
a person's mindset and the way he is gets shaped way back during his childhood. So
Mhm.
where were you born? And
Mhm.
if you can tell us something about your parents and
Yeah.
something about your childhood. What kind of a
Yeah. So
person then?
yeah, sure. Primarily, my family is from Kerala, but then I was born and brought up in Chennai. Spent all my formative years in Chennai. So there's like a lot of emotional attachment to the city. And so my parents also were kind of born, I mean, were brought up in like different parts of Tamil Nadu. So more from there than Kerala, that because of that situation. But uh, so my mom is a mathematician, so she actually worked in one of the first edtech startups in the country. Like she was the first employee for this company called Hey Math back in 2000. So they used to do a lot of these online math content and sell it to schools like B2B. So very early on, she was probably part of a startup when you didn't really have startups and it was not a common thing. So I think that was one interesting, I think, journey on that front. But apart from that, my dad works in sales and marketing, so he's been spending a lot of his time on fire safety actually. So he works for a company that builds solutions for fire safety, and he's been like with that company for quite some time, and like been doing sales and marketing there and going up the rank. So I think yeah, so both of them essentially not engineers, not so it's like a fully different ecosystem at home. But yeah, like I think any Indian family, engineering or medicine is like the easier path. And so I think family wise, that's how it was. Like there was, I think, an inherent bias of leading towards engineering and stuff like that. But that's essentially about
Okay.
parents. But post that, I think where a lot of my curiosity for robotics started was probably around I think fourth or fifth grade, when my mom took me for a summer camp with Lego Mindstorm, which was I think one of the I mean the most memorable part of that was the amount of effort it took to go to that summer camp, which made me I think pay more attention. So the place where the summer camp was about 20 kilometers away from home. So they had to like basically take me there every day, and then mom and dad would go to office, and then I would spend the day there, and then like come back with them. So it would be like but I think yeah that if I think if it was somewhere closer to home or stuff like that, I would have just taken it as like another thing. But this like made the whole experience a lot more. Uh, it made me feel like I had to make the experience, I think, a lot more worth it because of the travel. And so that was my first experience with robotics, building on Lego. But and I think post that there was like a small. Uh, I would say like till college there was like a hiatus on what kind of what building hardware specifically. Like I spent a lot of time after that in music and theater and things like that. So throughout school that was the primary driving force more than I would say anything technical. So I was not even not the topper of the school or not nearly there. Yeah, I enjoyed math. I enjoyed science. That I knew. Like I really enjoyed science. I loved physics. I would always like be very keen on studying physics way up front than what's going on in class, even if it's like if I have to get extra help over the summer. So that I didn't need a lot of push per se. But other subjects I was not really fan of. I didn't understand why, what, and things like that. Like I had a deep mistrust to how examinations work. So I was not a
Mm.
fan of uh, like my mom and I would because my mom is from an academic background, and she would obviously help me with math and teach me math and all that. But I wouldn't be I couldn't comply to the fact that human emotion could drive the mark that I scored. Like for example, a
Okay.
teacher being able to if the teacher is not in a good mood, I could probably get lesser marks than I would have in the other situation. Was not something that I was very comfortable with. The fact that writing with a blue pen or black pen changes how I present. And those things were not something that I could easily accept. So I would rebel a lot about in terms of how examinations worked, and which
Mm.
obviously resulted in not really scoring great marks. Um, and so yeah, so I would say at some level there was like I joke to people like who ask me why I build robots. Like I think I have a deep mistrust in human beings at some level because of the examination situation, and I think robots are the answers to all of these things. And
Nice.
I want more uh, like yeah, when people are putting in so much effort, like and that played out actually even during board exams, right? I was fairly good with my English and things like that, like literature, and I enjoyed it. Even we did ICSE, so we had like a lot of Shakespeare. Even like we would like literally study literature, and it was I really enjoyed that. But and even though like I was really good in the let's say in the class exams and things like that. When it came to the board exam, you could clearly see that people that got from that were from alphabets A to J all got 90 plus, even though they were not doing really well in class. And people after J would all of us got in 80s, and there were some of the people that used to top who would. So then I was basically that became like my proof that yeah, I'm not going
Oh
to
my God.
trust the
Really?
system in that. Yeah, so
And
that
you were
was
like
the
so observant then that this was
yeah.
happening. You could
Yeah.
figure
It
it
was
out.
like very, yeah, it was very, it was a personal mission, right? Like even today, it's a personal mission that this is not the way this has to play out. And when people, especially, right, people get so stressed about exams, people get like
Yeah.
put so much of their life on that. And the fact that human, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, mood swings can like alter that is not something that I am comfortable with. So I think that's where it started, like a need and want for automation. I think then I kind of accepted the JE way of doing things because of that, because of the MCQs and or you have an OCR and you're just plugging it in and you're getting. So it was easier for me to digest, and which is why I felt that I think JE was I was okay to prepare for JE even though I didn't get through, but I like the fact that there is some predictability there with the outcome, and it's just based on pure merit rather than any other external factors. So yeah, now so if you if even now if you go to school, like even when my friends meet me, their first instinct would not be that Pranav would be building robots. Uh, like like they like I would if you ask them that they would probably think I would probably be closer to being a stand-up comedian than to being a robotics engineer,
Oh,
probably in
interesting.
yeah probably
Okay.
in school. So I think that was like a big detour. at
Mm.
some point in college. Uh, yeah, that was I think school. Supriya. So after
Okay.
that,
So I think we can
11th, 12th.
expect like a good humor throughout the interview, I
No,
would
now
like.
this is just pressure, so I don't know. Now we'll see.
Acha,
It
not
is
under someone's
yeah,
vision. You're like, I'm
yeah.
naturally funny.
I mean, not naturally funny. Like I need my space. I need my what do I say? I
Okay,
need my freedom to be that
got
way.
it.
I think. I mean, and the reason for not being funny under on command is like I don't. I'm also a rebel, so I don't want to. I don't want
Of
people to
course. Of course.
tell me what I need to be doing. So yeah. So
Okay.
it's I think all of that together creates enough critical mass of problems in your mind to want to build a company or like start robotics and stuff like that. So
Mm,
I
interesting.
think by 11th, I think, yeah, 11th, 12th was again predominantly JEE preparation. But it was also my first understanding of the real world because the school that I would be in, like till 10th grade, it was very, so it used to follow the philosophy of this person called J. Krishnamurti. If
Mm.
I don't know if you've heard of
Yeah,
him.
I
So
know.
yeah, so there's the KFI centers and all of that. So, uh, that way, like even till like ninth grade, for example, we didn't have marks and things like that. So like it was only ninth and tenth that all of that started kicking in. Till eighth grade, it was
Okay.
just uh, we'll get like so that also very deeply sunk in, right? Like I don't want to be compared to other people. I don't want to be.
Right.
So for example, our test papers would just say can do better and well done. Like it would not say uh, anything apart from that. So I don't know, like if I scored 80% or 90%, or the other person scored 90% or 100. So mine might have can do better because I am capable of scoring maybe 95, but I scored
Of
85.
course.
But another kid who's gone from like 60 to 75 would have like well done. So, so I
No, I
think
think
that
this is a
way,
brilliant way, and this is where the education system is heading right now as well. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I think we had a bit of that, and that way even the school like focused a lot on like I think all-rounded growth. Like there was not hyper. So it
Mm.
was like a dichotomy of life for me. Like there was hyper indexing from society on marks and grades and what how to go about life. But at school at least majority of the teachers and things like that we were living like probably a different life, like with a different, like the campus had like more animals and like trees and all of that rather than so I think that way it was like basically different worlds in some sense. And
Mm.
a lot of those formative years, the first 10 years, made me very open to think for myself. Uh, and the reason I'm highlighting that, I think it is one of the major reasons why I was okay with starting a company. And I think a lot of just that confidence or like the way of thought has let me think about my own path rather than like say go fast forward to college. I did not really sit for like placements or like GRE, give my GRE and things like that because I was like I want to just explore this path and we'll see what happens. So I didn't want to have options open because my friends are doing this or there's like so I think that set like a lot of the tone in terms of being able to being okay with exploring. Uh, when we started. And I think 11th and 12th was just JE prep. I think I was fully siloed into. So from a non-competitive environment, I went into like one of the most competitive environments. Yeah, and then the school that I went to in Chennai was also like one of the top three schools. So there's like a lot of competition there, a lot of like people. Just so my other school would have like 300, I think 400 people at a time. From there, I went to like a 5,000 people school, and I think all of that like gave completely different perspective on how the world is working. So that was like the first taste of some form of like competition. From there, yeah, then so 11th and 12th got into like ended up getting into VIT after that. Didn't really do a good job cracking JE, uh, but then I think in retrospect, probably one of the better things that happened to me. Actually, me and my now co-founder to it, we one of the first things we did, like both of us were similar kids. We met in the first semester of college, and we with a couple of seniors, we started like an NGO to try and see if we can clean lakes and things like that. So just
Okay.
out of the interest of like, oh, we need to do something. Like there is like an unproven mission pending, and like something has to happen, and we're going to find
Yeah.
that here. And then similarly, like I would go get up at 5 a.m., go and play cricket because let's go. I mean, for the team, like college team, like go for the coaching and stuff like that. So again, just that thing of from the very, I think, second or third week, I was like, yeah, even though like I just come back from a grueling 2 years of JE, because of it, because it felt unfinished, I'm like, no, I can't take a break. Like, it's not that I can, I need to keep going. And so I would just like, yeah, still when my friends would like be staying up to play video games and things like that. For me, this like unfinished mission was like way more bothering, and I would sleep at 10:30 so I could wake up at 5. I head to cricket practice and stuff like that. And then there was this juncture in December of like the first semester, like 2015, where there was a very important call to take. I got into the dramatics team as well, and I got into the robotics team. Like robotics team, I had no context. I just like applied. I knew like I still had like I loved nature because of my school. So somewhere I developed this intuition of like, and the reason I picked mechanical engineering was also that like I love. I just understood. So for me, like, okay, no offense to all the people that love the software aspect of things, but for me, like, just the hardware felt real. Felt like you're literally taking something that nature has already given you, and you're manipulating that into something else, right? And be it like the work that we do with like if it's a PCB or if it's a metal part, whatever, like it's something that is real. It's something that's a fact, and then you are taking that and then you're doing something with that. I really like that idea. I really, I felt like I could trust that idea. It is more, I would say, something that
It's more
came from.
physical, like you can touch it, like
Yeah,
it's there.
you
You
can
can
touch
see
it,
it
and
that way.
it's not going to play with your mind. Like as in, like yeah, it's hard to do it, but I would say like again the part coming from the deep distrust of humanity, right? Like I feel like this is something that it is real and you can trust. Like so, for example, I mean, yeah, I still have a problem with like how something like marketing and stuff like that work, right? Like in the sense that you are having to make a person feel like they need something, but that's just how capitalism evolves. And like I obviously grown to understand that people. I mean, as a society, there's enough proof to show that we know only how to be coexist in a capitalistic environment, and I think there is more for us to figure out. So that way, I really like the fact that hardware was predictable. I like the fact that I can explain it. Like even if I don't know immediately, I know that there is some studying that I can do to explain why this material behaves this way or why this particular thing acts in a certain way, and I like that assurance. So I just wanted to go behind that feeling, and so that's how like I just applied to the robotics team as well. Uh,
So
so
back
there,
then, what was like your definition of a robot? Given whatever you just said,
huh,
back then, not right now. I'm sure it's
yeah,
changed right now.
of course, yeah, of
But
course.
back then, what was it?
Back then, I think. Back then, I think it was already the cool things, right? I think I remember seeing Asimo,
Hmm.
like Honda Asimo, quite a bit, like
Hmm.
because so in my head, actually, a person who didn't know what's happening in the industry, I thought everything in robotics is already solved. So what are you going to do, right? Like in the
Oh,
sense that
okay.
Asimo, you see Asimo working, and then I'm
Hmm.
not thinking about like AI is there, not there. Uh,
Hmm.
all of that, I still wasn't aware of how does like a closed loop system work? Like, what is the difference between automation and like robotics? I think straight out of school, I obviously didn't have an understanding of all that. I think I just did it because my only association to a robot before that was the Mindstorm thing and
Hmm.
uh, all the Rajnikant movies with the robot, and I had not like
Right.
essentially, yeah. So I think there was obviously a fascination to all of that, like seeing him like sit alone and like build robots and all of that was like obviously
Yeah.
fun. But and I used to watch a lot of Big Bang Theory, so I think there then the nerdiness quotient kind of was
Right.
appealing because of that. Uh,
Hmm. So you
so I
basically got into the club because it was cool.
Cool. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
all. I went in. That's what. But there also there was an important decision. Like, so I have two cool things. Like, one is dramatics, which I'm already good at and I enjoy doing. I really, I still like love acting. It's just that I've not been able to get to a theater troupe like because of how the journey, the path that I took. But I think that is like I don't know, for people that are fans of like Marvel, that was like a canon event, right? So I had to either pick dramatics and like music, or like you pick like robotics and like go into like core technical stuff, because the reason is the robotics team would work overnight and the dramatics team would start practice at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I can't do both. I had to pick one. And then I'm like, okay, I've done dramatics. Like I know what plays out. I think after joining the robotics team, till then, I think I was still out to prove myself. Like I was still trying to uh, show what I can do, what I'm capable of, and I've still not gotten that sense of validation, right? Uh, so that way I just like went all in into the robotics team. Didn't think twice about why I'm doing this. Is there do I really love robotics? All that was like a secondary thing. It was just about, okay, I'm getting to build something cool and let me just keep going and give my everything, because then I met like an amazing bunch of people, some of whom I'm still like are like a very active part of life today. I really got like just like it's like it was a classic example of the I got like a real life example of why you have to surround yourself with people smarter than like very early on. And I think in the first year of college when I got that experience, I was just like automatically only craving for that. So a lot of other things just no, it's all in retrospect. Like I didn't realize it then, but I think I was just craving for that kind of conversation and that kind of thought process rather than all the other stuff that you can also end up doing in college. And that changed, I think, slowly rewired a lot of parts of my brain, and like made me think more technical, from like trying to be a little bit more untrusting of things, or like being underconfident. That feeling of, oh, I've not made my parents proud enough, and like all of that. Like I think uh, all of that like didn't matter as much when I'm at least like building the robot. But there again, it was very hard. More than I think learning to build the robot, the college robotics team was more about perseverance, continuity towards what you're doing.
And what all happened in the robotics club
So we used
for
to build
like
Mars rover
3 years, I
prototypes.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years, right? So we used to build Mars rover prototypes. So we participate in the University Rover Challenge and European Rover Challenge and things like that. So I joined as a mechanical engineer, and then after 1 year, so first competition we went to Poland, and that was very important for me because
Oh,
that was my first sense of validation. Right, like so as a kid who was not
right.
really proved himself in anything, suddenly
Something
I
that you
could
were
say
looking for, you got it. That okay, now
I
it's
got
my
it, right? I got it
role
because
model.
my
Yeah.
parents' way of looking at me switched. Like from, oh,
Got it.
this guy doesn't know what he's doing, to like, he's doing
Makes
something.
sense. Hmm.
Let us give him his room, like he's figuring something out. And I
Yeah.
think they also got that confidence when they saw me, like, oh, I think my mom's signaling that way was very clear. Like she never said that you have to score marks all the time. So she would obviously scold me, there'll be pressure, but that was because she thought at that point I was only spending time on academics, so I should ace it. But then now when she saw me spending time on a lot of other things and I'm just like keeping myself busy, I think that helped gain clarity on that,
Hmm.
okay, this path is okay. And because academics obviously took a hit. And I'm like basically just like attendance requirement of 75%, I would just keep it at 75, 75, like bare minimum
Hmm.
what is needed to get
Hmm.
by. And so, so I think going to Poland that way was like one very important sense of validation to my parents and like family as well. That
And I
family
guess even
especially.
international validation matters.
Yeah, international value. Yeah, the fact that as a
Hmm.
16-year-old, I went
Yeah.
abroad for a competition
Yeah.
was
It's a big
something that
leap
no one else in the family had
for
done, and I
sure.
also didn't like comprehend doing all of that. So I'm just like going with the flow, and
Yeah.
so it was like a and good sense of I think validation that way. That okay, you're on the right path, and then the moment you get family support, a lot of other things become a little bit easier. Right? So.
And how
Uh,
many, what was the team size and what did you go there for?
yeah, so we were a team of like 17 people in the first year, and so this European Rover Challenge used to happen in Poland. And what we would essentially do is there'll be like Martian simulated environment, and we would take the rover. It would have a robotic arm. It would have like a suspension system, autonomy, all of that. Like essentially, uh, a very complicated system with low budget student, uh, you know, components and things like that. So got a good understanding of how multiple like so I my main this thing was mechanical, so I got an understanding of how software worked, how electronics work, and things like that. So I think and experience of working together with a bunch of people towards a common goal. So
So you
yeah, so
kind
that
of got like a initial taste of what it takes to build a robot, even fund the robot, and then
yeah.
how do you present it?
So I would
Uh,
say the first year, like the first year in the team was more about just building the robot. So I was
right.
just hands on like most of the time, like
Mhm.
from cutting aluminum to designing and everything. Right? So I didn't pay a lot of attention to the other side of things. So we had a captain, like we had a proper structure, like captain, vice captain, and things like
Mhm.
that. The actual taste of the team management and like things came the next year when I became captain of the team. right? So that was also like again an interesting like I think proof to myself that I can do certain things that I didn't think I can. And I joke with like very close friends that I mean, 13-year-old Pranav, if I tell him like where he is today, he would be like, he would not believe me because he'll just be like, by where he is, I mean just the fact that he's getting to work on something that he loves and he's just obsessed with it and doesn't care about a lot of other things
Nice.
would be like a very alien concept for him. And I think very similar, like in college, so that carried forward, and I didn't really think that I would be doing a lot of those things. So once so other thing in the team, an interesting thing was out of the 17, 18 people that I told you, all other team members, everyone used to speak in Hindi, right? And I didn't know Hindi because I was from
Oh,
Chennai, and now this became like a problem. And the solution to it was I had to learn Hindi, right? So now from being able to first learn Hindi and talk fluently within that 1 year to then gain enough trust to be able to lead the team was like a huge climb in itself, because first you're building the rapport with the people and then you're like going up the rung, and then you're understanding that okay, now I'm good. Like then you give the old leaders that okay, you can go run the team now. I think that like matters, right? Like especially in such an informal setting, like it's not a very formalized setting, right? You are not only going to be incentivized
right.
for your work, it's also about trust. Because what is the upside? Like today, if I have to captain the team, and let's say if you're just looking at it in sheer resume, very classical way, is that the certificate is the same for everyone. Like there's no captain written,
Hmm.
nothing, right? So essentially, for you to lead the team, there is a lot more emotional quotient that plays into it, which you can only display if you have a deep rapport with the people in the team. Like you cannot display your thoughts and all of that. You can do your job well. So so that became very critical. And I think then when I became captain of the team is when, so there was another harder competition in US called University Rover Challenge. And I was like, I want to go there. I don't want to do the European thing. It's not that sophisticated. So whatever we do, everything we do has to align to going to the US. And getting into University Rover Challenge is way harder because they have like 150 teams applied. They pick the top 25 teams. And all the other universities like abroad, they have amazing funding, like 20, 25 lakh for the rover.
Hmm.
We're trying to piece things together in like under 3.5, 4 lakhs. And so you need to like really set, like you need to really figure out what is your core USP and like why you need to go there. So I think
Right.
that is when a lot of that selling, presenting, a lot of that kicked in on like how am I putting this across? How am I creating an environment so that I can put this across?
Hmm.
And that environment involved multiple things, right? I think all of that became critical, and to an extent where one of the events was like, so suddenly felt like the team doesn't have a board because European Rover Challenge is not there. So then it becomes difficult to keep the spirits up.
Right.
And then I'm
Yeah.
like, what do we do? Then we're like all the core leaders, like the board of the team, which is captain, vice captain, mechanical leader. Like we have heads for every department. So we're all just sitting and we're like, okay, Europe competition is done and there's no competition in India. Let's just start a competition in India. So then we were like, and that will give the team also like a focus and like a direction. And it will also put us on the global rover team map. Because so we'll have to talk to the Mass Society Asia to like Mass Society US to get this permission to do this, and them to send out a mail to all the teams to come and participate and things like that. So it'll increase the credibility of the competition. Right. So we thought, okay, let's just do that. And then we just randomly started this Indian Rover Challenge in on
Okay.
campus only. So we decided in like June, and then like we launched the competition in January. It happened in January. We had only 7 teams come at that point. But today that competition is like become, I think it's happening next week, and like I think about 45, 50 teams are like coming,
Oh, wow.
and
Nice.
like it's still going on, and it's created such a great rover ecosystem and like space robotics ecosystem for students that when we were there, it was only 5 teams from India. So it was
Right.
all the like VIT, Manipal, SRM, IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. That's all. I think 6 to 7 teams. And today, like just in India, you have about like 50 teams in every college now, because it was always expensive to go, right? So go abroad.
Right.
So every college would not encourage it. So but now since there's a competition in India, like more people started getting into it, and now it's become like a really great ecosystem of like. So I think that was again that first taste of just like doing something for the sake of it, and then you see like we'll figure out whatever happens. Right? And other thing was that importance of like a vision and like conviction. So the vision for us was that we had to go to URC. Going to URC was the only thing, and not about like what rank we come and things like that, because we know that there are a lot of other colleges that have been building it for a long time that are going to do a fairly good job. So now if I knew if I just get the team to URC, after that at least it builds a culture for the teams following on to keep like repeating that, because I think the bar like QRC bar was very high. And so that took some time to crack. And so some decisions had to be made that, okay, if we had like 5 lakh rupees, I had to make sure I kept like 2.5, 3 lakh rupees always away for the shipping, because why else are we building the rover for? Like if no, I didn't want to like invest in making the rover more sophisticated if we can't go to URC, like there's no point. So even though, let's say, if we taken like that 1.5 lakhs extra and made a much better rover, we were still like, the goal is to go to URC and we need money for that from the beginning. And everything has to be backtracked from there, like your finance, sponsorship, budget allocation, technology. It has to be impressive. That we have to submit a video, so the video has to look impressive. It has to look like we have our things sorted, so then they're able to get us there. So I think all of that gave like a good perspective on pitching, understanding how people work, understanding how to get people together and band them together to do something. So I think that was where I learned a lot of, I would say, those aspects.
Very interesting. Also, like when you say talk about language as a barrier, because
Yeah,
when you are in a team having the conversations even about the robot, that
yeah,
kind of becomes a barrier there as well. Because then, how do you communicate? What is it that your ideas, like what is it that you want to build in that
yeah,
process?
yeah,
Uh,
exactly, yeah,
Interesting. So I think that happened, and then post
yeah.
that, when was the time wherein you thought, okay, it's time for me to build my own robot or my
Mm,
own company? And why
mm.
did that thought even come? Like, where was it, and where did you meet your other co-founders?
Yeah, so one thing intuitively that I felt was, I'm not only going to be a mechanical engineer, I need to figure out how I can
Mhm.
build an end robot from start to finish. And that was the goal by, I think, around end of second year, I'd set that goal that by the final
Mhm.
year, I should be able to build like a robot from start to finish. So autonomy, hardware, so, like even the electronics, so mechanical, everything, right, into it. So that goal was clear. But then with that goal, now what I was going to do with it, where I was going to do it, was still unclear. But me and my co-founder Tuhin, like he was also part of his another team where they were building these ATVs and like taking that for competitions abroad and things like that. So uh, we were roommates. Like third year we became roommates, and we would keep like
Okay.
brainstorming on different ideas. We would keep like trying to see what we can build. So once I decided that I wanted to start my own company, I started doing internships in multiple companies, like multiple startups, where I could like bootstrap companies, funded companies, talk to different founders. Like I just started understanding how that side of the ecosystem works. I was a huge fan. Like I think back then, the Team Indus, which is probably India's first private space company, they were building this moon rover, part of this Google Lunar Express, and the fact that someone is spending $70 million on just building a rover was insane to me, because I was on that industry for like I was doing this something similar, and I could relate to the problems. I was like, oh, this is why they need this much money. And so it was like that first taste of I've done something similar, and for me to take that to actually Moon or Mars, it's going to take this much money. So there's a huge gap for how I perceive the world, and I need to understand that. So I would try to reach out to people there. I was a huge fan of Aether even back then, Grey Orange, and all of these companies. I would keep tracking, keep following. Once I knew that I wanted to start something of my own, and so that I think then we once I decided that, then I didn't want any backup plans. We would keep applying for grants, different grants, and what we would do parallelly is we would take up a lot of uh, consulting work. Right, we've taken up some work in IoT devices, some work in robotics. Like there was, because the team with me was my college robotics team, guys. So all those
Mhm.
juniors would work with me on this, and then they would also like they would come and intern because I was on campus, so they would like work on the team and then work with me on this also. And then like that ecosystem was like being harnessed. So all of these guys are also into robotics. So I would take up like consulting projects accordingly. And so it became a decent way for them also to make some pocket money. I would like get the contracts,
Mhm.
and then we would like, then we take the projects. And of course, they, as a student, yeah, there is leverage that they don't have to get paid as much as what they would have to get paid when they work full time. So
Mhm.
all of that was easier for me. Like good experience for them, good for me to leverage as like a young company without money. And overall, it worked out to an extent where some other people, like I think a couple of people at least, like, are still with us. Like from then to now, they've
Nice.
still been a part of the journey. And uh, so so that way, 2020 was again a state of limbo of where we are headed. The freelance projects, the consulting projects, we kept doing, and that was just to the intent of rebuilding hardware, getting access to different
Mhm.
hardware.
When is it that the idea of what you're currently doing as your robotics
Yeah.
was coined during that
Yeah,
process.
that was in like August 2020 when we decided we got a good contract from a customer in the US to build mobile robots. So we were like, okay, this
Oh,
seems interesting. So let us build. So we were already working on other consulting work with them. So thought they were like, let's do this
mhm,
as well. And
mhm.
then that was like interesting. So then I thought, can we be the clear path robotics for India? Right? Build a bunch of
Right.
robot platforms and then slowly start looking at different applications. So their application it worked, can I just translate it to other places, which I think majority AMR companies follow that path today. Right? So that's how I think August of 2020 we moved into Accio Robotics. So Accio's the registered entity is still the same, like 2019 Unified Technologies is what it's called, but the brand is Accio Robotics. So
Okay.
so we just made that pivot, and then after this grant, then things became a lot more. After this contract, things became a lot more clearer that okay, let's just go into robotics. And then I also had this feeling of I'm coming back home, like 1 year of doing assistive tech, consumer hardware, and then now I'm like this just felt at home, like this felt natural that okay, I'm doing robotics and
And
being the founder of a robotics
what
company
was
makes sense.
nice?
Yeah,
And what was the initial, the first project that you got? What was the amount and what was the, uh,
yeah. So that was worth like 70 lakhs. Like that project was giving us like a revenue of
and how
70
many
lakhs, and it was
robots were you to make?
it was a seven robots project. Like we had to put seven robots for it was a swarm robot application, and I think and that building like so we built like the whole hardware, software, fleet manager, everything from scratch, and
And
that
for
gave
how,
us
in how much time?
year. We took a year to build that. Yeah, we took a year.
Oh, okay. So that was like one of your initial projects wherein you kind of got into
Yeah,
robotics, that you're building seven robots, you got 70
yeah,
lakh, which is like a very good money back then.
yeah. It
And
was
that
good
was
money,
also during
and
COVID time. Yeah.
during COVID, and the problem there was people, how where do we come together and work? So one of my professors in VIT had started a college in Chennai itself. So then he randomly ring me up to check on how I was doing, and then he was like, "Why don't you just come to the chemistry lab there?" And like he gave us a chemistry lab there to like start building the first version of the robot. And
Nice.
I moved out of my grandmom's house to like a PG nearby, and got like 3 4 more team members back. So we were all staying in that PG after the first lockdown, and we started building the first prototype out of chemistry lab there, and then we went
Mm-hmm.
and raised money based on that first prototype. We got like our first check, and then we raised a pre-seed round of like 2 CR in March, and then we moved to Bangalore in 2021.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
when you say you raised the first money,
Mhm.
what made you think that okay, I needed that money? Like you just had one project back then, or you had more projects?
One project with the hope that we would land somewhere. Like so, I think why I honestly I think we were the north star for the company, or for me personally, a lot today is also just having more money to build hardware. Sometimes I just like
Mhm.
tell investors that and they freak out that I'm just doing this because I have more money to build hardware. But I think that time also the North Star was that I know I'm going to continue building hardware. If I'm able to raise money and do it more efficiently, I want to do that.
Mm.
So we were constantly reaching out to VCs. Like we were just like reaching out to them to see like what's happening. And once we
And
had
you
this
were,
contact, it just became easier.
and what were you pitching them? Like, what is
We were
it that
pitching a
you will
mobile
be?
robot platform, navigation stack, mobile robot platform, selling to everyone. Like every industry, every this thing. Like
Okay.
so, the TAM
So
is like
one,
$20 billion TAM, and like everything. Like that's what we're like going to be the clear path for India. People can
okay,
build their application on top of our robots. It was a basic AMR 100 kg payload, and then you just like keep building applications. So that was the plan.
okay. Because you got that first contract of making an AMR, you kind of snowballed on that, okay, you know what,
Yeah,
this is what we can do, and then let's continue doing
yeah.
this for multiple players.
Yeah, because we had to land on our feet, right? Like we had to find some footing first before I could go out and be like, no, I want to do like surgical robotics. So at least that time, that's what I
Hmm.
thought. Like, okay, for a couple of kids who are just out of college and we're trying to build something, we're not proven robotics engineers. We first have to prove ourselves. So let's first prove ourselves, and then there's like more things waiting after that.
Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
the funda. And then once we raised more money, things became like a little bit more defined. We started operating like a proper company, and like we moved to
Right.
Bangalore. We
How
started
much
like
money did
focusing on
you?
we
Yeah.
raised two CR. Like totally, we raised 2 CR in 2021.
And
Uh,
with how many people?
that was
How
with
with
the team. Team
the
was
other VCs and yeah.
VCs. Okay, we had 100x VC come in. Then we had bunch of angels. Like it was mostly a lot of angels. The
Hmm.
only micro VC was 100x VC, and there, then it was like 100x VC is basically like they give you that first check and then they have a demo day 3 months later, but they prepare you for it, and there you have like a bunch of other investors who come for the demo day
Right.
and then they invest you.
And
So
how did you convince 100x VC to invest in? Like, how did you reach them out, and what is it that you pitched them?
yeah, so I think they have this standard, like they have a very standard operating procedure, like at least back then, of like they had these forms and you just fill them up, and they were fairly prompt with like getting back to most people. So one thing I understood was, as I was like, I think reading more about like again all the classic books of like Zero to One and all the startup books, it became clear to me that it was very difficult to raise money. Anything defining monetarily and raising money is not going to happen. Like if I go and tell them that I'm going to crack $5 million in revenue in 2 years, I can't raise money like that because I don't have any proof of work to show for. Like if I tell them $5 million, on what basis am I going to show? They don't know. So it became clear that only things that we can show is either a large market cap and potential in the team. So the fact that as a team we had already built robots together in college was interesting to them. That
Okay.
we work together well. We've already done this in the past at the college level, and now we need to take it to a larger scale. So that gave them that confidence. Is what they at least told me in like retrospect when I had a chat afterwards. But I think that's all it was. Like I think they just trusted us as a team. And most early stage investing is that, right? Like even now when I help some investors evaluate companies and things like that, it's all from an angle of is the team thinking like they may not have the technology solved, but are they taking enough action? Like, are they motivated enough about the problem? How passionate are they going to be? Like are they going to pour in those late nights to solve that problem? Right? I think, and if the founders are passionate enough, they will. So I think that is what they were gauging. So that's what they told us in retrospect. It was about the team and the market size.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you took 1 year to ship out those 7 robots. So
Yeah.
can you just take us through the of how did you research that? What is it that you will build? How did you build
Hmm.
it? Where did you procure
Hmm.
your parts from? What was the
Yeah.
cost of your initial prototype? Yeah,
Yeah.
just to understand
So
how is
I
it
that
that you got started in building that first prototype and then the rest.
got it. So the confusion with this answer is that now in a lot of things I have in retrospect that how I look at it, but I think back
Right.
then there was definitely a lot of foolishness associated to it, and by that what I mean is the way we would like go about planning something, right? It was always like very optimistic. We would be like, oh yeah, we're going to like do this in a month, and it like take like 4 months. So we were like figuring that out the hard way. Now when I go back in retrospect, I would be like there is no other way to start a company. Like I think straight out of college, like I don't think you can figure it out in any other way. But
Yeah.
that time we would be very hard on ourselves. We would be like, oh, we're delayed by like 3 months, and and then we realized like the more and more exposure we got, I realized that yeah, the quality of components we were already using and trying to build what we were building, we'd probably need like a gold standard job to like get there. But we were like, yeah, at that point we didn't know what was the difference between industrial grade components and DIY components. So we would still like I think pick up like I was like really trying hard to comprehend why I would like we would take like a simple maybe like a DIY model from like a site like Robo or RoboKits, and then I would like spend a lot of time trying to justify why does this not work in industry, right? Like what is the because I have not deployed a robot that's ran for 2-3 years to understand why it does not work in industry.
Hmm.
Now it was like all about reading papers and that somehow I'm still not convinced. I'm like this has magnets, this has this has they're saying it's supposed to do this. But then, yeah, the more deeper over the years when we got into the robot control system, you understand that more deeply. But uh, back then, we just like got a lot of the off-the-shelf parts because one very important thing was iteration speed, right? So I was very against getting parts from China and all of that and doing it because of the 2-3 month lead time for getting anything here because you had a lot of import related problems and like inter-China tensions also like there's some issues there. So so it was a little hard to get parts. So we would just go with whatever vendor in India is ready to give us parts in the max in 1 week. So that's how. So whatever robot we can build out of that, we will build. That we have structured everything according to that. Like so, for example, right, like 2021 till 2021, we were fully on an NVIDIA stack. But then NVIDIA supply chain because of the semiconductor issue and all that, there was a huge problem with the supply chain, and every component took like a long time. So we had to move to like something else, right? And then we moved to like an Intel based system, and then changed all that. And so we would just go behind the surrounding ecosystem. Like if you have to iterate fast, what is in store? So we built our first robots like very much with like hyper indexing on building really great software to support subpar hardware. Uh,
Mm.
and I think that I think created a good environment also in the way we do things at Accio. And so yeah, so that's how we got a lot of those things. So the first robot was pretty much like something that any kid today can just go on Robupa, order the parts for, and like build out. So not complex at all. So apparently we were exploring a lot of other sectors because we knew there is some gap here, but we're not able to crack the product market fit there. And
Mm.
there were a lot of other sectors that we were trying deployments in electronics. We were trying deployments in like I mean electronics manufacturing. We were trying deployments in textile. We were doing a bunch of things with that AMR platform uh, to see where we landed our end customer. And then over time, it just became clear that the AMR is a commoditized product at this point, and we're just wasting our life on it. So there had to be like another call that had to be made. That are we going to be just another robotics or automation company, or are we going to try to pick a problem that doesn't exist and solve? Because a problem where you can do something new out of India and try to solve that. And so there were multiple decisions to make. Like, do we build the company? Do we continue building it in India or move abroad? Because it became clear that if we move
Mm.
abroad, the upside was a lot. It was a lot easier to build robots, funding, team, talent, everything, right? Just the ecosystem. Then it became about the kind of problem that we're solving, right? So maybe we could be a normal AMR company and like try to keep like selling. But then I was not fully aligned to that. I was not fully aligned to that funda, and I wanted to identify a problem which we can solve uniquely, where we can be uniquely positioned to solve. And we were seeing like those exponential growth through the competitors in the space, and that became even more clear that it is becoming a commoditized product. So do you want to be another option for the industry, or do you want to build something that the industry doesn't have?
Mm.
Which is when we looked at we used to talk to a lot of warehousing companies here, and we one thesis that we arrived at was we need to be a company that is focusing on one problem. We can't be doing multiple things. We can't be doing we can't even be doing like textile like we can't even in manufacturing we can't do multiple types of manufacturing. Either pick like let's say the textile industry and like go so deep into it that you master it and like understand the nuances of it, or don't do it. So that became clear, and then we were trying to. So that was one thing. Second thing that became clear was now B2B sales is going to take time. You want to sell like a 20 lakh product or a 2 crore product, it's going to take similar amount of time, right? Because
Mm.
the steps and processes are already set, and you are not going to change a lot of things. So you have to go through the CFO. You have to, first, their operations team has to approve. Then you have to go to the CFO. Then you have to go to the procurement. Like the steps is the same. Once you prove it to the stakeholders, 2 crore or 20 lakhs is the same effort. Now, as a startup, if your sales cycles are 6 months, our cash flow lasts for like 12 to 18 months, best case, right? Now, and then we
Mm.
have to start fundraise again. If my sales cycles are 6 months, I can basically crack like 2 to 3 customers. Now, I either need to show higher revenue when I do that. So the ticket size of the project has to be higher. So there was some thesis like this that me and my co-founder kind of like arrived at, that we want high ticket size projects. We want to focus on one use case, because that also became clear that the robotics companies focusing on one use case are the ones that are big today. Uh,
Mm.
the moment you try to diversify, you become a solution provider. If you want to
Yeah.
be a product provider, like you take a company like Universal Robots, right? If Universal Robots wants, I don't see a, let's say, quadruped product from Universal Robots at least out in the market. I don't know if they're building it,
Mm.
but so just the amount of focus that it takes to solve that product and that form factor, there is a lot that needs to be put into it, and this became clear. So we thought then, let's do order picking. And the reason is 55% of the warehouse operators' time goes into order picking. So automatically, if you build the cost is going to be higher in that. So let's pick that.
How did you come here, like to do order picking? Like, did you talk to a lot of vendors out there? Or
Yeah.
did you go to a lot of shop floors?
Yeah. So we went to a lot of warehouses. We visited a lot of warehouses. We went to trade shows. We understood what kind of
Mm.
problems are being solved. We were seeing what is there in India and what is not there in India. So what is uh, uh, and we were also seeing where can we define that focus. So it was more about it was not that still till today I still tell like it's not that I'm passionate about order picking, but just felt like you can build an ecosystem around order.
Hmm.
Uh, you can build you have the problem statement defined, the KPIs are defined. You can the robot needs some definition of the problem statement, and then as a team, it's a lower hanging fruit to crack. Like if I tell like let's build surgical robots, that's a 6-7 years gestation period, right? So it becomes difficult to crack. Order picking also because of the okay, if I have to just double down on warehousing and why order picking. Order picking, if you look at the amount of capital going into it, like when I say 55% of the warehouse operation cost is going into order picking, so automatically the market size is higher compared to other solutions. Then the higher ticket size problem became prevalent, right? Higher ticket size problem meant you have to sell more robots to the same customer. With this, we had the experience with the first customer that where we sold 7 robots straight away and we were able to crack one contract. And that was surprisingly till even like 1.5 years later, that was the highest single order revenue that we got. So we're like, okay, we need to find a swarm robot application. Right. So then you're selling a higher ticket size products and you're also controlling the whole thing. So when you end up doing order picking, more often than not, you control the whole infra for the warehouse. Right. So you're selling, right now we deploy the racking, we deploy the robots, we deploy the IT infra, we deploy the software, fleet management, all of that. Right? API integration. So you're giving a full stack solution. The moment you're giving a full stack solution, it's difficult for a Chinese company to come and replicate that and like commoditize your product. You have a lot of Chinese alternatives who are doing order picking, but you will never have one bunch of engineers in China disrupting because rack design, everything kicks in, right? So my customer, the moment he puts in my racking, he cannot, if my robots have a problem or if he needs to add more robots, he cannot go to a Chinese vendor and buy an ad. He needs to come to me to add another robot. So we were also hooking on the customer because you're controlling more of their infra, which we're experiencing today, right? Like customers in our ecosystem have to be in our ecosystem because API integration has happened. Your fleet, WMS and fleet manager integration, like that has happened. The racking there is our racking. So if you need to improve your throughputs, you can't just add human beings and improve your throughputs. Like if I had another forklift today, I could still add 5 human beings to operate like the forklift or like figure out like other ways because it's standard racking and like people can enter. Here it is my ecosystem, right? So this felt like intuitively that we are entering a bigger game. Even if it's an AMR, right? I will sell 1 AMR, 2 AMRs, I'll sell 5 AMRs. That's all, right? Now, let's say best case I sell like 20 AMRs. That will be like one customer. And we were trying to understand like how many customers might be operating at that scale. And so that is where it felt like the robot. So when you control this whole solution, like when you provide a solution to the customer is when the robotics company extracts more value than providing the robot.
Yeah.
So this was the key learning there. And so then we aligned towards order picking because we already knew a lot of warehouses. Like since we were already selling to them, that became a motor in India. We could knock on any warehouse's door and we would have, let us say, like we could at least get a good meeting with them. All the top companies, like we ended up working with companies like Mahindra Logistics, DHL, and all that. Right? So all the top warehouse companies we had in, and so we thought let's just double down on that. So that's how we arrived at order picking, and I think, and that thesis I think still holds good and like helps us a lot. And parallelly, what we saw growing in 2021 was the quick commerce space. So our first instinct there was in India. So we arrived at some numbers, right? You need to solve problem statements in India, where you're not competing with labor, which is obvious, right? Labor is just cheap. If you want to, so first we said we want to build in India, not build in India. If you want to build in India, then you can't compete with humans. So if you don't want to compete with humans, it's very simple. You need to do 3 things. You either need to pick something very heavy or like you need to question or you need to counter human physical limitation. So either move something very heavy, climb very high. Like so our robots today, like they move on the floor. It's an AGV that moves on the floor but attaches to the rack and then climbs on the rack. So now it's climbing to like 40 feet, right? So human is not going to be able to access that 40 feet, right? So are you able to give an upside in terms of something that a human can't do? So the one is the physical limitation. Second is the hazard to the human, right? So then there you're looking at use cases like oil and like mine exploration, or you're looking at use cases like scavenging, right? You're looking at use cases like defense, right? So there's a clear hazard to the human, so you can't do that. Third thing was, what are those places where integrity of the human is at question and we want to solve?
Okay.
Which might be like, even security robots, like, you are protecting something, right? Or you are, because of the robot, something gets protected. So let's say we were looking a lot at, we built a thesis around high value storage, which was, and that tied in very well to quick commerce, right? So we felt that quick commerce eventually, right? they are going to start selling mobile phones. They're going to start selling a lot of, like, because the moment you have eyeballs, right? The moment you have eyeballs on the platform, it only makes logical sense to start selling everything on the platform.
Hmm.
So in 2021, we had this bet on quick commerce. Like, that's one thing, like, I think Tuvin and I had a little bit foresight on, that quick commerce is going to start selling everything, because we've tried to study their business model. And
Hmm.
I think unless the average order value goes up, they're not going to be profitable. And that was here. And they can't go, the average order value can't go up if they're selling groceries. So they're going to have to start selling more things. So we thought, okay, now if they're doing that, they're going to have to store high value goods. So let's
Hmm.
build a solution for high value storage. Right. So now all of this together, we were already countering 2 points out of the 3 points that I mentioned. Right. So and of course the dark stores and the warehouses today have hazards to human beings also, which we don't like talk about much in India. But I think 1 and 3 was getting clear that we are enabling uh, high density storage by going higher. So the real estate cost was lower. So there was like savings from something non-human there. Like otherwise, whenever we
Hmm.
were giving proposals to warehouses, it's like how many humans are you replacing? That's all, right? And we might
Okay.
give like a 10 to 20% productivity, but that doesn't really matter as much, right? You can still add 5 humans and like solve for it, worst case. Uh, so here we were at a solution where we were affecting real estate price, and quick commerce
Hmm.
was interesting because uh, all other major warehouses and the big third party logistics, they all have warehouses outside the city, right? And there you're paying like 20-25 rupees per square feet. In quick commerce, you have to have it in the heart of the city and multiple of those. So there you're paying 200-250 rupees per square feet. So storage density and storing, increasing the uh, cost per, like revenue per square footage became very important. And the way you improve revenue per square footage is if you sell more, right? So I mean, if you hold more items. So that way, then we were slowly starting to see some North Star that, okay, if you solve order picking for a micro warehouse, there is merit. So our so we thought first, okay, we'll still be selling to the bigger warehouses, and eventually we'll build for dark stores once quick commerce business model is stable. Right, like because they were also figuring out, we didn't know where they were headed. They were all running on
Hmm.
their like investor cash and things like that. And now a couple of them are IPO, so there is more stability. The we know that Indian consumer is wants everything in 10 minutes. So I think once all of that became clear, that so that was the only bet I think we took like in 2021, 2022, that we are going to solve for high density, high throughput storage for micro warehouses. That was clear. Are we going to make a
Interesting.
business out of it? We were not clear. But then we had to find what do we do in between that like 2 years to get to what to get to that end goal. And so that's how, yeah. So we were deploying few AMRs for order picking, uh, where we were doing this solution called person to goods. So they're just putting the mobile robots, and it's helping a person, like there's a tablet, it tells him where to go, it tells him what to pick and things like that. So
Hmm.
even there, then if you want to solve for India, cost becomes a problem, right? So then we were like, does India truly need an AMR? Can we build an AGV? Right? Because AGV cost will go down. Now you have to add, so now you have to add the collaborative feature to the AGV. Like AMR gives you the collaborative feature automatically because you're moving, and then if a human is there, you just move around and things like that. So then we started identifying warehouses where you didn't need this collaborative feature. As in, the warehouse is already small, that even if you put an AMR, the warehouse like robot can't move around and things like that. So narrow aisle movement was a huge problem with AMRs.
Hmm.
Right? Like even till today, like if you're just using SLAM and like trying to move in a narrow aisle, like there's a high chance that like the AMR doesn't do a great job. I think. Uh, so there you need an AGV. So we found like warehouses that are very narrow where an AGV anyway fits in. So when you're doing the sale, you just tell the customer like the cost is like 30, like drops down by 40%, because you're not putting a lidar and all the uh, processing that comes with it. Uh,
Hmm.
so so we're like, let's build an AGV for applications like this where we are interacting with the warehouse where you can't run an AMR at all, and pick those kind of warehouses. So even today, like we have like these robots running in like few warehouses where they're like an AGV, and they follow tags. But then the problem was, so we've always taken this problem solving approach towards India that way. Like how do you cut cost? Right? Like so the problem that our customer came back with was the tags that we put on the floor is wearing off. And because they're
Hmm.
moving their other material handling equipment on it and things like that. So now the conventional thought process would be for us, like the first thing say, oh, should we put a LiDAR and make it an AMR so that we don't put this? But then we're like, why do we do that? Can we just do something with the tag? So we instead started laser cutting the tags in like 1 mm aluminum and engraving on that and bolting that onto the floor, which was way cheaper. Like each tag would cost like $100 and the whole thing got solved in like 15-20,000 rather than like us adding a full LiDAR. And those tags are still happily active, right? So we always took that approach of like trying to go into the first principle of what problem we're solving and just like solve that. Your problem is tag replaced. As a robotics engineer, my solution is I would go and build an AMR. But from a clear problem statement, the solution doesn't have to be an AMR. So, and India needs a lot of that thinking for robotics to work. Right? If you just look at it from the lens of, I have all the money in the world, I'm just going to build this robot and I'm going to put it, it's not going to happen. And this became very clear through all of these experiences. So we waited that out once we arrived at. But as an order picking company, this person to goods again aligned in there. So our software stack was being built around it. Our WMS integrations we integrated with companies like SAP and all of that. So the software layer was getting built. So we knew the software layer would be there, the fleet manager would be there. And once the market is mature enough and like the problem statement is clear, then we'd be able to crack the dark store statement. So yeah, that's how we landed at order picking.
Okay. So how much? So right now you can completely robotize the entire warehouse, right? So what
Yeah.
was the time period from you deploying certain robots in the warehouse to actually building the entire warehouse for that?
Uh, so I think it took us a good, I think 2.5, 3 years, 2021 to 2024, a lot of toiling with different things to arrive at how do we take care of every thing in the warehouse. But mostly that's why, like, so now when we focus on the micro warehouses, right? 90%, 98% of the things are just done by picking and put away. So we didn't need a lot of other robots also to like come into the ecosystem. So you need just the scanner that they use to talk to our WMS. You maybe need a tablet that they have which is tracking orders. You need to integrate into their API. So those things were important. But otherwise, it was all just our system, right? So we didn't really need to focus too much on other types of automation. Like we didn't have to automate a conveyor belt. We don't have to like do all that. So our automation system is just our order picking robots, which like are basically like I said, like moving in 3 dimension to pick a bin and bring it to you. What happens after that is a very solution specific thing. Like so, some places like we work with the customer where it's just for battery testing, for example, right? Where they just pick a battery, test a battery, put it back. And now for like quick commerce, it would be completely different ball game. So yeah, so that's how it took us. But it took us like about to do our first deployment took us like a good 2.5 years from conceptualization to get there.
Okay. What year was that when you first did
That was first deployment was August 2020. August 2023. Like August 2023 was when we did our first deployment after like conceptualizing the idea in like end of 2021. Yeah.
Okay. So is it right now you do only complete warehouse automation or you even do parts of it? Like
Now we're very zeroed in on micro warehouses. So essentially we do the end-to-end automation, but the micro warehouses only need that one form of robots that we've built. So that's why we built the solution itself. We built the solution in a way that our robots should be able to do anything and work with a human being for it to happen faster. So the simple funda is that let the robots do what they're good at, which is moving very fast, accessing items that are very high. So the robots move at like 3 meters per second and things like that to do that. Because again, when we're working with like the quick com companies, right? We are all ordering items at like a rate unprecedented from before. So so the speed of the robots and the speed of the overall fleet manager has to be like way significant than any conventional warehouse. Like globally, I don't think any other warehouse needs the throughputs that a quick com warehouse needs. It will be very rare. Maybe some fruits and vegetables warehouses abroad, but you will not need this kind of throughput anywhere. And 24/7 operation. Like every other robot gets downtime. Right? Like you're running 24/7 operation here. So I think quick commerce that way has been like a very unique use case where robotics like an automation in India makes sense financially a little bit. And so that way it just ends up being our robot and the humans do the picking from the bins that we retrieve. And they have their own, like we have some intelligent picking mechanisms where we reduce the scanning time. So once they take an item, they have to scan it. So we're working on things where they don't have to scan that. So again, it's a very solution driven process rather than a robot driven process. So when you started Accio, it was a very robot driven process that okay, you have the robot, fit
Right.
it into it wherever you can. Now it's more like what does the solution need?
Completely.
Just build the robot for that.
So now that you provide the complete solution, what is the minimum order value that you have done right now, and what is the maximum order value, and how many robots are deployed in either of them?
So right now, see, we're still like in very nascent stages of like scaling our deployment. So
Mhm.
our maximum order value, I think, was the minimum order contract for any of the things that we do now would be like somewhere around 1 CR, especially like for the micro warehouses. But then we're looking at different business models, right? Like so that's where. So when we're selling the robot, that was the funda we started off with. That we need high
Hmm.
order value. But now
Hmm.
we have changed that to how do we get more recurring revenue.
Right.
The funda is evolved that way that how do we extract more out of each deployment? It can be through AMC, it can be through either we're exploring things like pay per pick, right? So every time the robot picks an order is when we get paid. So we get like some upfront amount from the customer, and that helps us with like the deployment cost and like just setting up the racking and things like that. And then the customer ends up paying only at an operational level for every item that is ordered rather
So is
than
that something like a RAS model, like
so kind
robot
of like
as a
RAS, but
service?
yeah, kind of like RAS. I think very much like RAS, but we're rather looking at the solution that the robot is providing as a service. Like so, we're offering order picking as a service rather than the robot as a service. So that the
Okay.
difference is that if I am having 5 robots, like my customer
Hmm.
doesn't need to care how many robots I have. Right,
Hmm.
that is my job. My job is to pick that order and give it to you.
Okay, and you
So
just charge for that. That's it. How many
that's it.
robots
Like
are
so,
used?
if I'm
It's up
putting
to you.
20 robots there, if I'm putting 5 robots there, they don't need to care. If I'm
Right.
doing robot as a service, every robot that I add, I would say you pay me 50,000, 1 lakh per robot per month.
Hmm. Got
Now
it.
I'm like that is about how good my solution is. So I am incentivized to build a great solution. They don't have to pay for my inefficiency. So if
Hmm.
my tech stack is not good enough and because of that I have to put 20 robots, they don't have to pay for that.
Got it. So that is what you're following for all your
Yeah, that is what we're following now. Yeah, that is what we're
Okay.
following now. That we get like basic upfront cost and then we pay per like charge per pick.
Okay, so in the minimum order value, you said it's 1 crore. How many
Yeah,
robots are deployed? Approx.
there will be like about 6 to 7 robots per deployment. Yeah,
Okay. And what is the maximum order value you've done till date?
like we have like a huge contract with like a customer for like 100 robots, but that's over like 2 years.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
so we're like constantly deploying with them, and but that's like a fixed contract.
Hmm.
And so I think those kind of things are there, but specifically it's all like very distributed. Like it's we haven't really hit that 2.5 CR number that I spoke about, like per contract.
Hmm.
That's still like a work in progress. But we are still like trying to figure out in that sense where we scale, like which sector is going to scale. I think we're still on that journey,
Hmm.
which is why even when we spoke last time, I told you like distribution is becoming the most important thing for a robotics company rather than like the robot itself. Like, can
Hmm.
you create distribution and can you create the right use case? That's something that we've learned in the last like 5 years now, and I feel like I am going back to the drawing board in some sense to figure out the way forward. Even though we've been
Hmm.
spending a lot of time on this, because I feel like there's a lot more value to extract from robotics, especially in the last 2 years, right? After LLMs and like AI and computers become a lot more available, I want to rethink a lot of things that we're doing right now, which is
Hmm.
the process that we are in. And we so in that sense, we're kind of like plateaued our growth a bit. Like we're just trying to put our learnings into what learnings into whatever we want to do in the future. Because the problem with robotics again is like even though we've spent like 5 years, right? Uh, every solution to go to market takes like a year and a half, and then you get feedback on what exactly is the
Hmm.
so essentially, yeah, like as a hardware company, you get to experiment and like you get to experiment very less, and you need to just like draw insights from like a lot of undertones and course correct.
Right.
So that's like where we are at. Like so we are trying to see where we get that big distribution. We've still not hit that number. We've still not hit that product market fit number where we're able to get those
Right.
2.5 CR contracts and repeat. We're on that journey.
Of course. I think that way every robotics hardware company right now is like for another, I think, a decade. They'll always be on that journey of constantly going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you do collaborations like when you're building your robots, like, or is it like completely 100% in-house built? Whatever
So
solution that.
collaborations from like we do talk to other companies if like say we have a warehouse, one company reached out to us and they need like multiple solutions. Like they need
Mhm.
order picking also, they need like let's say something like sorting also, they need like a robotic arm also. And so then we collaborate, but we've not executed anything. We've explored a lot of projects with multiple companies.
Mm.
Uh, but definitely that's something that I think that's important for like India as an ecosystem also to do, like for us to collaborate and like come up with like full-fledged solutions. But so far we've not like done anything successfully from like a collaboration angle. Yeah.
Mm. And right now, like for you to um, deploy robots or deploy your solution, is it easy for you to get those orders or get the market interested in your solutions? Has it become easier and you have enough orders right now?
Yeah, it has become easier the moment we have narrowed down the use case,
Mhm.
because now we are so confident with whatever we do that we know that like we have enough conviction that we'll be among the top people in India doing it. Like in terms of let's say even if it's in terms of understanding the dark store problem, right? Both
Mhm.
like me and like my co-founder and like the core team, we've even like gone and done picking in the warehouse, for example, right? So we understand what are the nitty-gritties of like a dark store that
Mm.
one of the quick off players run. So that way now we are confident and we do have like a good we do have good potential that way. But that being said, like I said, I'm like constantly on like the lookout of like exploring because the moment we take one path and scale that, then it's very difficult to come back. Right? Like your team is aligned to that,
Yeah.
your fundraise happens. So let's say we go and do like a huge round of funding. Like if we let's say go and raise $10 million now, uh, I won't have room to come back and course correct. It will be like growth money, right? Now it will be like if I decide warehouse robotics is what we want to do and that's what we want to do, all the money would mostly have to go into that because there is enough work to just scale that. I can't then go back to my investors and like course correct and be like, no, now I want to do something else. So, so we are at that juncture as a company where we are really trying to be extremely clear on why we are doing this. The why has to be clear on why we're doing dark stores,
Mm.
why we're doing warehouse automation, why we're doing whatever we're doing. So we're on that, I think, phase of flux right now. Hoping in the next 3-4 months we get some clarity. But yeah, so
How big is your team?
that is how it is. Yeah. Right now we are close to 40 people.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you have any mentors, like either personally or for the company?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be like very hard without that. So we do have like different. There are different people that I go to for different things. I think uh, for like company related, like there are obviously like a lot of like some founders that I really look up to, who I keep like trying to have conversations with. Like for example, like I'm a huge fan of Aether as a company, right?
Mhm.
So just because of how they built a hardware company from scratch and very similar journeys in the sense that starting straight out of college and stuff like that. So I try to talk to them a bit, Swapnil and Tarun, and sometimes like and bunch of other like founders, right? So here and that's the benefit of being in Bangalore. Like, so that was one of the calls that we took very early on. Like I'm based out of Chennai. It was very easy to build the company in Chennai. But I was like Bangalore
Mhm.
definitely has an ecosystem and I want to harness that investors, customers. Like even yesterday we got time with one of the biggest investors in the country just over lunch. Uh,
Oh,
to just
nice.
brainstorm and just to brainstorm, like we didn't go and tell him that we want to raise money. We just want to brainstorm, and he's like, okay, come over for lunch, and we just spent time at his house chatting and trying to figure out a lot of the nitty-gritty. So I think uh, where I think that's what we see is that we're in a situation where I think we, as a team, we know where we're headed and how we want to move forward. It's just that how how specifically what market and all of that is still like a work in progress.
Got it.
And mentors wise, and this is a phase where you need a lot of mentors. So
Right.
we I do end up meeting a lot of people over like a week, just to understand their perspective, starting from and mostly I try to do it with non-robotics folks, because we're in our bubble, right? But then
Yeah,
in the
that's
other
true.
in the other industries, there are things happening in completely different ways, right?
Hmm.
And it's very important to understand that, I feel, because it gives you a different way to look at robotics. Because I feel like that is
Hmm.
one thing I feel like with India and robotics. Uh, I feel like we don't have like a good enough ecosystem as well to fully rely on. Like it's still getting built, and I think companies
Right.
like us and like all of us who've been building it for the last 10 years are part of building that ecosystem, and we will get there in the next 5 years. So
Hmm.
you need a bit of both. Like you need a bit of experience from ecosystems that are developed, while building our own thing as well. And personally also, like, I work very closely with like a few mentors, because I think one of the hardest things of being a founder has been dealing with my own mental clarity. So
Of
that has
course.
been very, very clear, very, very critical, because there's a lot of middle classness that kicks it, right? And I think that is like one of the biggest deterrent to a first time entrepreneur. Like when suddenly you have crores of rupees to spend, but you've been only looking at it from maybe thousands, or the best
Right.
case.
And unless you change your mindset, you won't change anything outside.
Yeah,
So you
you
need
can't
that kind
hire
of people
innovation.
around you to
Correct,
actually tell you, okay, how is it now? You think the way you can. Yeah.
correct, right? And it's more like, for innovation to happen, you need a little bit of abundance mindset. Like you can't keep fighting for
Right.
survival. You can't keep thinking that you're not good enough. You can't keep thinking that how do I, in 2 months, where is money going to come from? You need to somewhere develop like a deeper level of trust that you will solve every problem and figure it out on the fly. And like staying calm, learning how to stay calm through uh, multiple things has been like probably the most important learning from the whole journey. Like I would say
And how
honestly,
do you do that?
I mean, okay, now this
Or
is
did
like
you,
going.
okay, there are two questions. How do you do that? And how did you understand that, okay, now after 6 months or after 1 year, okay, now I have a bigger team. I have more money to spend. I have more market to cater to. How is it that you change your mindset? Because you have to change your mindset every 6 months, 1 year. How is
Yeah,
it that
yeah.
you grow that mindset, and how is it that you stay calm?
Uh, yeah, now we're going into like out of robotics territory, but I think the main thing was that
But then that's the base of it, I think.
right. I agree. It is the base of it. It is the base of it.
Yeah.
I think the first thing to work on was getting rid of fear. By that, what I mean is fear of failure, fear of like actual FOMO, right? Like, oh, this company has done this,
Hmm.
this founder has done this, oh, this person has moved to San Francisco and raised this much. And then because fear draws multitude of emotions. For example, you start feeling pity about yourself. You're like, oh, this
Yeah.
person is doing this, I'm not able to do this. This person doesn't deserve this. So I think all of that is like very futile noise. So first getting rid of that. So the way to do that, I think for me, how at least today how it works is looking more inward, very ruthlessly on what I want to do. Uh, I don't really care today which company is doing what, which person is doing what, who is raising how much money, do they deserve it or not deserve it? Why is this team member doing this to me? Nothing matters. First aligning to what my goal is in life in general, and it is something as basic as I told you about being able to build more hardware and like solve bigger problem statements. And I
Hmm.
am on that journey, like in some level accepting that journey. And then you realize everything else are just moving pieces, right? Like the capital that you need is a moving piece. The team that you need is a moving piece. The technology that you build is a moving piece. Uh, and the people are going to come and go in your journey, and you're on a journey. So the moment you
Hmm.
accept that, so the moment you let go of fear, at the moment you let go, and fear kind of originates from having an end goal, right? Like, and oh, what
Hmm.
if I don't get to that end goal, right? So
Hmm.
that end goal can be that's when like comparisons start, and which is why I was talking about my first school, right? The first 10 years, where like we were not like comparison was a taboo thing to do, and I think
Right.
that really helped drive this now. Like when I also I think developed that very recently, like developed this thought process very recently. But I think a lot of that callback became easier when I tried to connect the dots from childhood. That
Hmm.
essentially when you accept that you're actually on a journey and you're not looking at always getting to a destination, then you're not scared of not reaching that destination. The moment you're not scared of not reaching the destination, then you're not constantly on the lookout for better ways to get there. Then you will be looking at, oh, this person has done this and I have not done this. So today, the way I see it is that I'm on one journey, and everything good or bad is part of that journey, and that's okay. Like in some sense, just
Hmm.
accepting. You have accountability to certain things, of course. Like you have accountability to people. You have accountability to people that have trusted you. My investors have trusted me. I have accountability to them. My team is trusting me. There's
Team.
accountability to them. That baseline is definitely that. I have accountability to my parents as well. Like family is being supportive. I need to obviously think of them as well. But at baseline, it doesn't come from a position of what if I fail.
Hmm.
It comes from a position of what else can I do. Like it that I think has been like the major flip for me. Where
Hmm.
honestly, like I think the last 3-4 months have been like the most, uh, let's say, stressful, anxious I could have been in another case. Like it's been like the most moving pieces within the company, but I think I've also been like the most calmest in that sense. That
Mhm.
I'm fairly certain like 3 years back, if I was in this state and like you had asked me that let's do this, I would be like, no, my like I'm like mentally in another zone and I just need to get that done first, and I wouldn't be in the
Mhm.
mind space to look at a lot of these things. So yeah, now
Oh,
I'm just on that thing that I want to do what I want to do. Then I'm not thinking about what's happening in the US, what's happening in China. All of that doesn't matter. I'm just on this journey of
right.
building robots, and I need to master that art. That's all. Yeah,
So it's about like just defining your goal. Like I'm building this, I'm doing it for this particular market. And yeah, these are my values, which I'll always come back to see if
yeah,
I am going in the right direction or not.
yeah.
So do you follow certain religious or spiritual practices like to make sure that you're grounded in your values?
Yeah, not I wouldn't say religious per se, but yeah, I do meditate a lot. I spend like a lot of like my default state, like if I'm just sitting somewhere, is like just to close my eyes. And I've like started really strongly believing that the more calmer you are, the more brighter things you like you attract the right things. Like
Mm-hmm.
because one thing this journey has also taught me is it's all a series of serendipitous events with luck and right place at the right time.
Okay.
Starting from how we got the first grant and to right now, it is a lot of things about right place at the right time. And the only way for you to do that, the moment you start controlling that, it becomes harder, right? If you
True.
try to control the outcome, you don't achieve the right outcome because your fear, you're displaying fear, you're anxious, you don't really get there, right? So now I've like just deeply convinced myself or like accepted that the more calmer you are, whatever you feel you don't have will also come to you, and you just like need to try to be in that mind space as much as possible. So I
Mm.
try to protect that very ruthlessly, like protect that calmness. If it means saying no to a few things, if it means not meeting a few people, if it means missing out on few opportunities, like I don't really care, and I'm just like, yeah, this piece is
Mm.
important and other things. So yeah,
Okay. Great. Pranav, I think there's so much more to unpack in your journey. I think there was more things that I had written down to
mm,
ask you about the patents and
yeah,
the like how does the version 1, 2, 3 work, and like
mm,
what version you are at.
yeah,
But we are like full of time, like full on time right now.
yeah,
I think we'll do a second podcast wherein once you are more into the journey, we have deployed more of your hundreds of
yeah,
robots out in the
yeah,
country.
yeah,
We'll get
yeah,
you back again to understand more about how is it that we go about doing these other aspects of it, or how did you go about doing it.
for
So
sure,
that will
for sure.
help a lot for the ecosystem as well. So great. Thank you so much for your time and all the best for the company. And looking forward to seeing more of your rewards around the country and world as well.
Thank you so much, Supriya. Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure